SNA 3 to 5K power solutions. The SNA 6K now features smart load and AC coupling. We suggest you take a moment to read the user manual before the installation. Please install a dual interlock switch or dual power switch between the inverter and the grid, as well as between the inverter and the load, with an input current greater than 50 ampere. Install the corresponding switches in other locations. Please ensure that the ambient temperature ranges from 0 degrees Celsius to 55 degrees Celsius, and that the operational altitude does not exceed 2,000 meters. Place the inverter on a well-shaded site to proof the direct sunlight, rain and snow, etc. Mount the inverter on a wall at an angle of 75-90 degrees to the ground. For parallel system, please maintain the minimum clearances presented below for adequate heat dissipation. Ensure that you have the following tools with you. This inverter is wall-mounted. Choose a suitable installation location and try to align the display screen with the line of sight. Please drill the fixing holes on the wall before installation. Ensure that the diameter of the fixed hole is 8 mm and the depth is greater than 50 mm. And the spacing between the holes is 180 mm horizontally and 519 mm vertically. Install the inverter into the prepared holes, insert the expansion tubes into the holes and tighten them, then tighten the expansion screws to ensure that the inverter is fixed to the wall. A sheet following shows the adequate power cable. Step 1. Strip from 0.25–0.32 inch, 6 to 8 mm, insulation from the cable end and crimp cable lugs for the cable ends. Step 2. Insert the ring terminal of the battery cable through the cable grommet into corresponding battery port of the inverter. Place the terminal on the corresponding positive and negative interfaces. Step 3. Use the nuts provided with the package to secure the terminals. Use a socket wrench to tighten. SNA series model supports up to 2 string of MPPT PV connections. You can choose between the 2 access methods shown in the figure. You can set the connection type on the LCD. For specific settings, please refer to the LCD settings section in the following video. You can also make related settings on the web. Refer to the sheet for adequate cable selection. Please double-check the lowest ambient temperature of the installation location. Strip off 0.25 to 0.32 inch, 6 to 8 mm, insulation on the PV string's positive and negative conductors. Assemble the cable ends to crimp contacts and use the crimping pliers to crimp. Feed the processed wires through the cable grommet into the inverter. Connect positive pole of connection cable to positive pole of PV input connector. Connect negative pole of connection cable to negative pole of PV input connector. Complete the connection of PVB using the same method. Before making the connection, ensure open the DC protection device or disconnect battery first. Be sure to connect AC wires with correct polarity. A sheet following shows the cable requirement. Strip off 0.32 to 0.4 inch, 8 to 10 mm, insulation sleeve on the cables. Connect the wire to the terminal and secure it with a crimping pliers. Connect the L and N lines of the AC input through the cable grommet to the corresponding interface of the inverter. Loosen the fixing screw of the AC input L terminal, thread the L wire of the cable onto the fixing screw and tighten the screw to secure it. Operate the N terminal of the AC input in the same way. Similarly, connect the L and N lines of the AC output through the cable grommet to the corresponding interface of the inverter. Loosen the fixing screw of the AC output L terminal, thread the L wire of the cable onto the fixing screw and tighten the screw to secure it. Operate the N terminal of the AC output in the same way. Make sure the wires are securely connected. Before making the connections, ensure the inverter and the generator are powered off. All circuit breakers are open to prevent damage to the unit. Strip off 0.32 to 0.4 inch, 8 to 10 mm, insulation sleeve on the cables. Route in cable lugs and crimp them. Feed the processed cables through the cable grommet into the corresponding interfaces of the inverter. Loosen the fixing screw of the inverter Gen L terminal, thread the L wire of the cable onto the fixing screw and tighten it to secure. Operate the N terminal of Gen in the same way. This device can be grounded using the enclosure grounding method, connecting the PE wire to the corresponding grounding position on the enclosure using the included nut. Plug then secure all screws of the dongle. For detailed instructions on connecting the dongle, please refer to the Wi-Fi configuration section later in this video. To compensate for the external load, a current transformer, CT, or meter must be installed at the grid point. We provide a CT for each inverter as standard. Clamp the CT on the live wire and ensure the CT arrow points towards the inverter. Connect the CT sampling line to the corresponding communication interface of the inverter. Identically, connect the communication line of the battery to the corresponding communication interface of the inverter. And install the other end of the communication cable on the corresponding communication interface of the battery. Please pay attention to the communication protocol interface of the battery when connecting. If users want to start generator remotely, the generator start signal shall be connected to the Gen port nominal open. Connect to the Gen contact terminal for remote start. All connection complete. Warning: please double check the polarity and port of the wires to prevent miswiring. We suggest to power on the inverter to test the off-grid output. If the installation is normal, then can open the grid breaker. Install the guardrail barrier. After the installation, you will be able to set the system for inverter on LCD. Set the PV connection type. This connection method can be connected to pre-connected PV and save costs when the inverter is far away from the PV. Attention! When using, the specifications, model, and quantities of the PV panels are required to be identical. This wiring method is more flexible and can operate in different PV environments. Battery type and battery brand. You can monitor the inverter by configuring the dongle and registering an account using a mobile app. Use your smartphone to scan the QR code to download the LuxPower app. Use your mobile device contact the Wi-Fi named by the dongle SN number. Open the LuxPower app. Click the dongle connect button. Input the account and password of the Wi-Fi which you want to join. Click the Home Wi-Fi Connect button. Fill the form according to your personal information. The star sign means the necessary information. The installation code is provided by the installer or distributor. The SN code and PIN code can be found on the body of the dongle. The basic installation and network configuration steps have been demonstrated. If you encounter any issues during the installation process, please feel free to contact us.